Good morning. Here I am again, abiding happily in the pure land of this present moment. And I'm happy to have the opportunity to share with you, to be friends with all you around the world. It is really amazing. I get chills thinking about how lucky I am. I just wanted to acknowledge that first. But now, I want to take refuge in the three jewels. When I take refuge, I do so on the full spectrum between the two extremes, the conventional dimension of reality and the ultimate dimension of reality. It applies to the three jewels as well. Conventionally, historically, I take refuge in the Buddha, the historical person, the Dharma, which is the actual historical teaching of that historical person, and the sangha, which is the community that emerged out from that teaching. But also, on the other hand, I take refuge in the terms of ultimate reality, the ultimate Buddha, spread out everywhere, already existing, or existing beyond being and non-being. The Dharma, which is everywhere available, looking deeply into the present moment with continual mindfulness. We have the capacity to learn from anything that happens. Everything is the preaching of the ultimate Buddha. And the sangha, in the terms of the ultimate, is all sentient beings. From a certain angle, there already exists a wise and harmonious, loving community of all beings in this complex web, this earth, this universe. So I keep that in mind as I take refuge. Take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows the way. Dizzy. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way that has been shown. And I take refuge in the sangha, which is the community, practices the way that has been shown by the way shower, the harmonious, loving, and wise community. Yesterday I went up into the mountains. I have a little moped and I putted up the hill. We have a big forest just outside of town here. And it was really nice to get away and to enjoy some seclusion. But I was reminded of a translation that Thich Nhat Hanh gave us of the Sutra on the Better Way to Live Alone. It reminded me that being alone, it's really a state of mind. Because we can go out far away from everything, from people, and still not be alone. If our thoughts are harassing us, we're not alone. We're disturbed by our thinking. And in a certain way, we can be alone here now, surrounded by people and cars, as long as we have the ability to look deeply into our thinking and to dismantle clinging to notions. Good morning. So even out there in the forest, I realized what that sutra was talking about. That if I relate to thinking in a certain way, I will never be alone. But if I relate to thinking in another way, I can be alone in a very real way, anywhere. I encourage you to go find that little translation. It may be at the Techno library. I can't remember, but I'm sure it's online somewhere. The Sutra on the Better Way to Live Alone. But yeah, getting up there and away from the city is like recharging, refreshing. I think the goal, since this is engaged Buddhism, is to bring our practice up off of our meditation cushions and out of the forest in seclusion and into the valley of the city with the people. We want to figure out a way to embody the practice and carry it around with us, because our ultimate goal is to confront or engage suffering here and there, to liberate sentient beings, including ourselves. But we use times like this, with a regular set-aside time to meditate and be with ourselves, in order to recharge and to establish a baseline, to create a refuge, so that we can be a resource to our loved ones everywhere. But mindfulness is not simply a thing that happens in a temple or in seclusion of the wilderness. The ultimate goal is to bring it into the post-absorptive period as well, to even it all out as we confront suffering. This is one of the big things that makes Thich Nhat Hanh's teaching unique. It's this engaged aspect, engaged Buddhism. I personally, since I have explored and understood Thay's teachings, I see that all Buddhism is engaged Buddhism. But there have arisen certain interpretations of the Buddha's teaching that don't highlight the engaged part. They highlight a kind of aversion to mundane reality, aversion to the senses, a disengaged Buddhism. But I think there's good reason to see that the Buddha taught engaged Buddhism. It's not just Thich Nhat Hanh. So, in talking about suffering, now I'm going to talk about transformation and healing. I'm going to read chapter 6 of The Art of Living. I'll read until I feel like not reading anymore, and then we can sit together in mindfulness. Actually, I'm not going to read chapter 6, I'm going to read chapter 7, because the title is cooler. It's more attractive right now. Nirvana is now. That sounds potent. This is such a good book, this Art of Living. I got this in a used bookstore, and this is an uncorrective proof. It says not for sale. It's special. Nirvana is now. Nirvana is a pleasant state of coolness and freshness that we can all touch in this very life. By using mindfulness, concentration, and insight to transform our suffering, we can touch Nirvana in the here and now. Nirvana is not some distant place in a distant future. Nirvana is a word that comes from an ancient rural dialect of India. In the Buddha's time, as in many places around the world today, rural families would cook over a small fire made from straw, dung, wood, or even rice husks. Every morning, the first thing the mother would do is light the fire to prepare breakfast for family members going out to work in the fields. She would hold her hand above the ashes from the night before to see if they were still warm. If they were, she would only need to add some straw or twigs to rekindle the fire. But if the fire had gone out, she would find that the ashes were completely cold. After a fire has completely gone out, if you sink your hands into the ashes, it feels pleasantly cool. The Buddha used the word nirvana to describe the pleasant experience of the cooling of the flames of our afflictions. Thank you. Many of us are burning in the fire of our craving, fear, anxiety, despair, or regret. Our anger or jealousy, or even our ideas about death and loss, can burn us up inside. But when we transform our suffering and remove our wrong ideas, very naturally, we can touch a refreshing peace. This is nirvana. There is an innate connection between our suffering and nirvana. If we did not suffer, how could we recognize the peace of nirvana? Without suffering, there can be no awakening from suffering. Just as without the hot coals, we cannot have the cool ashes. Suffering and awakening go together. As we learn to handle our suffering, we are learning to generate moments of nirvana. Nirvana does not have to be something big, something we spend a lifetime practicing for, hoping to one day experience. Each one of us can touch small moments of nirvana every day. Suppose you're walking barefoot and you accidentally step on a thorn, and a dozen thorns, or you step on a briar and a dozen thorns pierce your foot. Immediately you lose all peace and happiness. But as soon as you're able to remove one thorn and then another, you begin to get some relief and peace. In the same way, the removal of afflictions is the presence of nirvana. As you recognize, embrace, and transform your anger, fear, and despair, you start to experience nirvana. It's a cessation. Nirvana is a cessation, a cooling, a dismantling of the addictive, aversive, apathetic mind system. But if that thing was not there in the first place, there would be nothing to dismantle. There would be no way for anything to find its cessation. So this is the aspect of this samsara nirvana duality. If one wasn't there, the other one would have no meaning. Touching nirvana. The Buddha taught that we can enjoy nirvana with our very body. We need our body. We need our feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Those are the 5 skandhas. In order to touch nirvana, we can touch it with our feet, our eyes, our hands. It is thanks to being alive with our human body that we can experience the cooling of the flames and generate moments of nirvana. When we cool the flames of our anger and, having understood its roots, the anger transforms into compassion. This is the experience of nirvana. When we experience the peace and freedom of walking meditation, we are touching our cosmic body. We are touching nirvana. When we stop running, let go of all our worries about the future and regrets about the past, and come back to enjoy the wonders of life in the present moment, that is when we touch nirvana. It is by getting in touch deeply with the historical dimensions in the present moment that we can touch the ultimate. So looking at mundane reality, boring old mundane everyday reality, we see supra-mundane reality. This soil is the cause for the growth of the flower. The mud gives rise to the lotus. The two do not exist separately. As we touch our cosmic body, the world of phenomena, we get in touch with the ultimate, the realm of reality in itself, ta-ta-ta, its intrinsic nature of reality, ta-ta-ta. The word tathagata has to do with intrinsic reality, ta-ta-ta. Tathagata is somebody who comes from and returns to reality as it is, suchness. One who directly experiences or knows suchness, thatness. And this Tathagata or Tathagata is a title of the Buddha. It's a different name for the Buddha. I just had to digress on that. When we see the world of phenomena from the perspective of the ultimate, we see that if there were no death, there could not be birth. If there were no suffering, there could not be happiness. Without mud, there could be no lotus. They depend on each other to manifest. Birth and death are just ideas at the level of the historical dimension. They are not the true nature of reality in the ultimate dimension, which transcends all ideas and notions. All thoughts, words, and stories are lacking. Can't quite grasp ultimate reality with our thoughts, words, and stories. They're not the true nature of reality in the ultimate dimension, which transcends all ideas and notions, all signs and appearances. In the ultimate dimension of suchness, reality in itself, there is no birth and no death, no suffering and no happiness, no coming and no going, no good and no evil. When we can let go of all ideas and notions, including the ideas of a self, a human being, a living being, or lifespan, when we understand the twofold egolessness, this is a selflessness or not self of person. In Sanskrit we have pudgala and thing, or world, which is dharma. We have Pudgala Atman and Dharma Atman. So these are terms that I see in the Lankavatara Sutra a lot, and it's elucidated in my favorite Mahamudra meditation manual. Sometimes I share from that in my videos. You'll probably come across it if you keep listening. Nirvana is the ultimate dimension. It is the extinction and letting go of all notions and ideas. The concentrations on emptiness, signlessness, aimlessness, impermanence, non-craving, and letting go all help us get a breakthrough into the true nature of reality. By contemplating deeply our physical body and the realm of phenomena, we get in touch with Nirvana, the true nature of the cosmos, our God body. See, I love how Thich Nhat Hanh is not afraid to employ the word God. It's okay. It's another word. It's just another word. If we cling to words, there can be problems. But as we seek to engage suffering with our skillful means, upaya, we use words. And God is a word that many people understand today, or use at least, even if they don't understand what they're saying. It's a word that people are familiar with. So if we can learn to speak this language, we can reach more people. Oh, thank you. So, true nature of the cosmos, our God body. And we experience peace, happiness, and the freedom of non-fear. We are no longer afraid of birth and death, being and non-being. Just as birds enjoy soaring in the sky, and deer enjoy roaming in the woods, so do the wise ones enjoy dwelling in Nirvana. We don't have to look very far to find Nirvana, because it is our true nature in this very moment. You cannot remove the ultimate from yourself. To touch Nirvana is to realize the insight of no birth and no death in our daily life. So I like to use the word know, G-N-O. It's different than know, K-N-O-W. Know means directly experience, direct experiential understanding. It's not another concept. It's not activity of dualistic discrimination. It's directly experiencing. So ultimate reality is said to be beyond thoughts, words, and stories. So how can we even think about it? How can we approach it? How is this useful? If it's beyond thoughts, words, and stories, what are we going to do with it? I think we don't need thoughts and words and stories because we are that ultimate reality. We need to get close to our direct experiential understanding. Gnosis. And we can do that in many ways. Like this, like what we're about to do. Breathing mindfully. It's a practice that'll help us move toward stable, direct experiencing. Continual mindfulness will reveal the Pure Land of the present moment. Like Jesus talks about, the kingdom of God is already spread out upon the earth. People don't see it because they don't look, because they aren't practicing mindfulness. But it is available. We just need to remember. And the word mindfulness in Pali and Sanskrit implies recollection, remembering. We remember that we're already in the Pure Land of the present moment. It's not an easy task. Just because we have Buddha nature does not mean there's no work to do. But the Buddha nature is never impure. It's never destroyed. It's never distorted. It's just obscured. So maybe the appearance is distorted. It's like the sky. It's like the sun in the sky. The clouds cover the sun and it gets a little bit dark underneath, but the clouds obscuring the sun, it's not doing anything to the sun. It's not hurting the sun. Yeah, there is obscuration, but the Buddha nature, the sun, is still intact. Eventually the sun's warmth will burn away the clouds and the blue sky will be revealed. The plants will be nourished by the sun and it'll be warm. Same goes for the Buddha nature. We burn away the clouds with our practice of continual mindfulness and reveal that treasure hidden in the field, or the gem sewn into the pocket, which is that's a story that appears in Buddhism and Christian teachings. It's interesting. I'll talk about that later maybe. But for now, let's just practice breathing. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. And breathing out, I know I am breathing out. In, out. In, out. Hi Miri, good to see you. Glad you made it. We're live together. I just started breathing, so perfect timing. I'm done rambling now. Breathing out. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I am fresh. Breathing in, I see myself as a flower. Breathing out, I feel fresh. Flower. Fresh. Flower. Fresh. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid. Breathing in, I see myself as a mountain. Breathing out, I feel solid. Mountain. Solid. Mountain. Solid. Breathing in, I see myself as a bird. Breathing out, I feel free. Breathing in, I see myself as a bird. Breathing out, I feel free. Bird. Free. Bird. Free. Breathing in, I see myself as infinite light. Breathing out, I feel bright. Breathing in, I see myself as infinite light. Breathing out, I feel bright. Light. Bright. Light. Bright. Breathing in, I see myself as open space. Breathing out, I feel expansive. Breathing in, I see myself as ultimate open space. Breathing out, I feel open. Breathing in, I see myself as light. Breathing out, I feel creative. Light. Creative. Light. Creative. Breathing in, I see myself as open space. Breathing out, I feel great potential. Open space. Great potential. open space, great potential. Breathing in, breathing out. I'm gonna show you around my spot. Do a little walking meditation. The sun's rising. This is a construction site. They're building affordable housing, which we desperately need around here. On the other side of that new building is a big homeless camp. And there's one of my bunny friends. Hey, bunny. How you doing, bunny? This bunny has 3 ears. Hey, bunny. Oh, now my alarm's going off. It says, take insulin, check your blood sugar.